It's one of the worst feelings I think human race can have to deal with.
This literally makes me cry to even get the words
We've
out.
all witnessed the devastating wildfires that have swept through Los Angeles, leaving unimaginable destruction in their path. People running to escape the flames, the sudden, heartbreaking loss of homes, schools, entire communities, the overwhelming uncertainty of what comes next. For so many, the questions now are why, what now, and how can I go on? Even if you weren't directly impacted by these fires, you may still be feeling the ripple effects. Events like this remind us just how quickly life can change without any warning. It stirs up deep fears and anxieties we often try to avoid. And because loss on this level doesn't just affect individuals, but entire communities, we all feel it in some way. It's a collective experience of grief and vulnerability. That's why in this episode, we wanted to create a space for healing, hope, and guidance. We're bringing together two of our go-to Seeking Center guides, both of whom deeply understand resilience, navigating loss, and finding strength in the hardest moments. And let me add, they've never met before. We have animal communicator and spiritual medium Jaime Breeze here with us today. Jaime isn't just helping others navigate grief right now, she's also walking through it herself. She recently lost her home and nearly everything she owned in a wildfire that tore through her community of Jasper in the Canadian Rockies. We actually have talked to her prior to this, so you'll have to listen to that episode if you haven't already. Her grief of what was is profound, but her strength and faith in the midst of it all is nothing short of inspiring. Jaime's journey of navigating sudden change and loss can offer a fresh perspective on how you face challenges in your own life. We also have intuitive quantum healing practitioner and transformational coach, Lizzi Cutler, with us. Lizzi's work is all about helping you get unstuck, back into alignment, and overcome tough times. Through energy healing, past life quantum work, emotional healing, and soul level intuition, she empowers you to release tension, uncover and heal the root causes of your struggles, and create space for growth. Lizzi's approach can help you process your emotions, realign your focus, and move forward with strength and clarity. In this conversation, we'll explore the big questions. How do you navigate grief when it feels overwhelming? How do you face your greatest fears? How can you release emotions that keep you stuck? If you're feeling lost, uncertain, or simply in need of support right now, this episode is here to remind you that you're not alone. There is a way through. Jaime and Lizzi, we are honored to introduce you to each other and to dive into this important conversation. Hi, Jaime. Hi, Lizzi.
Hi, Robin. Hi, Karen. Hi, Lizzie.
Hi, ladies. Thank you for having me.
This is a tougher one of our conversations. This is deep. This is what I want to say. It's not one of our more lighthearted conversations about why we're here and purpose. So
I
let's
also just want to say, I think that so much of what we've been consuming has this tone of like sadness and heartache and all of that. And I think just being in that vibration can be really hard. So please don't mistake that I'm going to have my normal voice and I'm going to be my normal self in the midst of also having deep compassion for what people are going through. Please don't take it the wrong way. It's been so heavy and everyone's tone has been so heavy that I feel like I'm like pushing through mud to get my breath of fresh air again.
You said it really well, Lizzie. Yeah.
And I think just to start out, Jaime, how are you doing? We have so much to dive into today. But the last time that we spoke to you, you were super open and honest with where you were. And you had just gone back to Jasper after losing your home and half your community. So just give us an update on where you are. And then there's so much to dive into for all that are listening right now.
Yeah, so I do have a safe place to live now after being in 20 different hotels, Airbnbs, cars, you name it, with my pets and my partner, and still doing readings in those environments. I do have a safe place at my mother-in-law's condo in Jasper. So I'm one of the lucky ones. There's still thousands of us displaced. And I'm starting to feel a little bit back in my step. It's going to be 6 months in a few days here of our tragic event. And I'm just starting to get a little bit of breath. And I know I'm moving in that direction, but I know a lot of people still aren't because they are extremely displaced and away from our community. I still have a long way to go though. Nightmares have calmed down a little bit, but now seeing what's happening in LA, I've also started regaining my memory, which was lost for quite some time there, which was difficult to think about.
I would imagine. And for both of you right now, as we get into this conversation, what is one thing that you can say to someone listening right now that might feel overwhelmed or really uncertain about where they are right now?
In my experience with my fire, it's terrifying, debilitating, life altering. Everything you've worked for, everything you've planned, everything you aspired is just ripped from underneath you in a matter of moments. So if you are going through something like this, what you're feeling is justified and normal. And it's okay to feel that way. It's one of the worst feelings I think human race can probably have to deal with, but no, you're not alone and there is support there, but do what you need to do right now. I think the best thing you can do is find a safe place so you can process those emotions and feelings.
Jaime, are there any specific things that you did to bring yourself back into knowing that you were safe and trusting that you were actually safe again?
So my main thing was I had to make a decision that night. The fire swept through our town. The fear was so immense that I fainted. And when I realized what was really going on, I had to make a decision. Do I want to move forward? Or literally, do I want to die? I had to really connect with source energy and almost make a pact with God, with the spirit world, and say, okay, I'm trusting this process. I'm moving forward with this because the fear was so intense. Like, I didn't think I was going to be able to live. So that was my main thing. I had to really trust and surrender to source energy.
What I'm hearing you say, Jaime, for me feels like a death. Something was literally ripped away from you in a moment without warning.
Yeah. And I didn't want to die. I thought my life was pretty good, right? I didn't want to die, but in that moment, I thought of taking my own life. And that terrified me.
Yeah.
And so I had to suck my reality back in and tell myself, shake out of it.
Yeah.
There's got to be another path here.
And you've experienced grief before in your life, but this is a different type of trauma and grief.
Yeah, the scary part of this, and what I know everyone in LA is going through right now, is the mass destruction. And you can feel the terror in your entire community. I wish it was just my house that burned down. I wish my neighbors and friends were still here. But just to see this grand energy that you cannot control really puts you tiny on this planet. It makes you feel how small we actually can be. And that scared me. The mass devastation and loss. That's what really rattled me.
I don't think most of us will go through that type of devastation and loss. And yet there are so many going through it, which is why we're talking. And even though we're not going through it, there is this ripple effect of feeling it and wanting to help. And what can we do? So I think this understanding of you made a choice to want to keep going. So what was it at that moment?
Well, I have a special relationship with the spirit world as a medium. I trust that realm and I work for them. I am like their employee in a way, right? So I have to remember that. And I tell my clients who are going through utter loss and grief and whatnot to surrender, open up to their loved ones on the other side, their team on the other side. We aren't alone. We have that support, even though it may not feel like it sometimes, they're there. And so I had to just circle back in my mind and shake myself out of that thought and know that there's going to be a purpose in this. What is it? It's going to take a while to see that. So I just had to really focus on that. And it took a lot of strength, but I forced it. And also, I'm a big believer that if you don't fulfill your soul contract with reincarnation, that you might come back and have to live through it again. And I was like, not living through this again. I'm just going to figure it out now.
And I'd say part of your purpose is having this conversation right now.
Yeah, probably.
And Lizzi, you've dealt with people with serious trauma.
Yeah.
And what is something that you know is one way forward?
Even just hearing Jaime speak, it feels like what's coming up and what I'm noticing and recognizing as someone watching the destruction but not living through it. It's the ultimate fear that we are not safe on this planet, which is what 100% of my clients, when we get to the very core of it, it's the feeling I am suddenly in this human zip-up suit. I feel disconnected from source, and that is not safe. And Jaime experienced that in real time. No, you're not safe. This planet is way bigger than you are.
Yeah.
Mother Nature is way bigger than you
Yeah.
are. It's like when people go and mess around in the ocean, and I always think the ocean's going to win 10 out of 10 times.
Oh, I know. I always say that too.
You're never going to be better or stronger than that. And so I feel like what this is bringing up for all of the world, because we're seeing the world respond to this. I think everybody is in that state of, because we have instantly put ourselves in, oh my gosh, I can't imagine. We all say it's unimaginable. I can't imagine it. And yet, when we're trying to fall asleep at night, it's hard not to put yourself in those shoes and think, what would we do?
And the other thing too, Lizzie, like how you said, people don't feel safe, like Mother Nature is in control. And it goes to show you with exactly what's happening with these wildfires. Like first it was Lahaina and Maui. That's a major, beautiful, historic tourist spot. We have Jasper. We were leading on the world stage as a tourist place. Like you see those mountain pictures with turquoise lakes and people canoeing. That's Jasper. And then like Florida, North Carolina, and then now Los Angeles with the Pacific Palisades and Malibu. It goes to show you it doesn't matter if you're a celebrity or a billionaire or a blue collar worker. You are in nature's control.
I also think there's a big piece here around, even though I may not have experienced it in this lifetime, I would say 100% of us experience some kind of mass destruction in a past life.
Yeah.
That's why that fear is so loud. Like a lot of us have a fear of burning or drowning or being stabbed in the back or whatever the thing is, because we most likely lived it in a past life. And that's hard to see it happening in real time.
Yeah, so I remember quite a few of my past lives. I was born remembering, and then I've gone into past life regressions during meditation. And Karen, it was you who actually brought this to my attention when we spoke in October. You said, Jaime, you've died in all these horrific ways before. Maybe this is your chance to be the survivor in this life. And that really shifted my focus, Karen. I was like, okay, she made a really good point. Like, I'm cutting the cord of these past life traumas, and now I'm going to come out on top in this life. Hopefully.
You're working towards it.
Yeah, but that made total sense.
Here's the piece that I also want people to be really clear on. It's not necessarily always about cutting the cord from past trauma. It's about acknowledging it and feeling unsafe and still putting one foot in front of the other, even though it doesn't feel safe. That to me is what we're trying to do in this video game that we're in. That, Jaime, the reality is, how could we expect you to clear the trauma of your home being ripped from you again? And you're still in the trauma. It's only been, what did we say, 6 months?
6 months, of course.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for everyone to recognize what your expectations are on yourself and being really gentle and kind.
So when people do ask me how am I doing, I pretty much say day by day. And that is huge because for the first 3 months, it was, and for any evacuees listening, so please remember this, the first 3 months, it was minute by minute. We couldn't make decisions 5 minutes in advance. We had to just, it was baby steps. And now I'm at the point, it's day by day.
I think that is really important for everybody listening who is experiencing this firsthand to hear, because we're so programmed to think about next week, next month, all next year. And this type of experience, it rips all of that from you.
Yeah, you can't make any plans, any promises, any commitments. You just have to take it moment by moment.
And I also feel, again, without any disrespect to the trauma that everybody is experiencing, to those of us that aren't in LA and aren't immediately impacted by it, we still have our own fears going on. And so there's this, I don't know about Robin and Karen for you guys, but I'm in this thing of, I have my own fears coming up, and then I almost have survivor's guilt of, you idiot, you could be going through that. And yet,
definitely.
It's so interesting how triggers are there no matter whether or not you're in that same experience or not, there's the guilt of being the onlooker, of not going through that experience. So Jamie,
Yeah.
even when you were going through yours, I remember Robin and I talking about it, gosh, what can we do? And feeling that helplessness of we can't relate, but we want to help, and almost not being able to do that or not knowing how to do that and feeling that. And then I was just thinking this morning how it triggered me back to 9/11. It triggered me back to Sandy and some of the hurricanes that we dealt with on the East Coast. Even things like, it sounds crazy, but like when I got my divorce papers served to me and I was sitting in my home and somebody knocked on the door and thrust them in my face. And it was like my whole concept of home dissolved around me.
Yes.
We all feel it in a way, even though we're not in it. And so what do we on the outside looking in do?
This is where I want to say energy edits come in really handy, because exactly what you're talking about, Karen, are all the moments in life when you thought you were safe and then you fell off a cliff. And the thing that our subconscious and our inner child wants to do is prevent the fall off the cliff. And so we start anticipating when we see a cliff coming. And so instead of, Gay Hendricks calls it upper limiting, we don't want to feel like we're at an 8 out of 10 in our happiness scale and go from the 10 to the 2. And so we pull ourselves down from feeling safe and feeling content, and we bring ourselves down to a 5 or a 6 because it's easier to go from a 5 to a 2. And so the work that we're doing with people is really helping them understand going from an 8 to a 2 feels unimaginable, but you're essentially choosing, do I want to live at an 8 70% of the time, or do I want to live at a 5 100% of the time and never feel that high, right? Never feel the goodness and the juiciness. It is why we came here. And in the spirit of we came here to experience duality and the depth and the density, and that Jaime, on some, pardon my language, but some really fucked up level, your soul knew that it was going to come in here and experience this heartbreaking trauma and get the juiciness that it came here to get out of that moment, and then somehow create balance in past lives and future lives. So I think there's an element of trying to really connect with not only this is all happening for a reason, but I'm not going to get stuck in the fear that it's about to happen again.
And I'm sure that that in itself, not having gone through that kind of mass destruction, but I know from my own sudden loss of my father when I was a child, that kind of trauma where you
Change your
expect
definition of
home, I would say definitely changed my definition of home overnight. And also that idea that anything can happen at any time. So to me, anybody, including myself, can die at any time. That stays with you.
It's 100% the fear that it is not safe to trust that I'm safe.
Yeah.
Like you can feel that vibration. We can throw any story that we want on it, but you can feel the vibration of it's not safe for me to feel safe.
And now so many, Jaime, including yourself, people in your community, all of us that are hearing this. And I talk to so many people that are like, I can't even watch because it's so triggering. And then there are those who are just in it right now. And so how do we help? How do we help manage that fear?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because there's really nothing that people can feel immediate. They need that immediate relief. But the only thing I think from a bystander's point of view is just to send that compassion light, that loving light. Just picture pink light over LA, just full of love and light. And hopefully the earth can feel that from the collective. Because as again, someone who's been through this, I don't know what you can do. I really don't.
There's two things I want to talk about. One is, Lizzi, what you brought up, that survivor's guilt. And two, Jaime, what have you been how are you feeling in terms of this idea of something can happen at any time? Where are you now 6 months later, knowing you actually survived it?
Yeah, it's terrifying. Our fire season starts in less than 2 months again. But a part of me, a deep rooted part of me is like, oh, check off the box. I've done it. It's not going to happen again. So I'm trying to hold that.
Yeah.
Okay, I've accomplished it.
I've done that one.
Yeah.
Like the chances of it happening again are real slim.
Yeah. What's scary though in our situation is our weather comes from the west, and we always thought the fire would come from the west. The fire came from the south and the east. So we still have the west forest that is on everyone's fear list. So I'm trying not to put energy into it. And I'm just, yeah, check off the box. We've been there, done that kind of thing. And with the survivor's guilt too, and this is what I tell my community that is still standing and my friends who do have houses, is please try not to feel that way, because we need you. We need you to stay strong so you can take us in and assist us when we need it. We have to have that strength in the community. So I can see that happening in LA right now, just everyone coming together and all the grassroots organizations coming out and feeding the people and giving them clothes and housing. That's what we need, is we need strength in numbers for the people who didn't lose their home.
Is that an opportunity for people to think about, where is your power? How can you step into that? And is that being part of a community? Is this sending love and light, as you said? Is that of value, if whether you're going through it or whether you're watching it from a distance, Jaime?
Yeah, for me, it was about the community collective. I needed to come back here. It was like 2 months until I could come back. And in my experience, I need that community collective. So for people who are experiencing this and they feel the same way, trust that it's building you, putting the puzzle pieces back together and healing, threading everyone together. That collective is so powerful. But then again, if you're far away and weren't first on the ground and experiencing the collective healing of sending that love and light, I think is really what we can only do.
Jaime, I have a little bit of a tangible question. As someone who's far away, how did it feel good for you? And I know this is just personal to you, but how would it feel good for people that are far away to offer support? To say to somebody who's grieving and going through this, to say, how can I help you? Then puts the onus on them to come up with an idea, versus how would that even feel good for you?
I did have a lot of support from around the world, and people were reaching out. What can I do? How can I help? And my answers was just pray for us, pray for our community, pray for our animals in the forest that are displaced. That's, again, we need.
Would it have felt good to say, can I send you a gift card? Can I buy a night at your hotel? Is it better for someone to say, here's this idea that I have. Is this helpful to you? Or to just let you answer the question?
I think a lot of us are scared to ask for help sometimes, especially in perhaps wealthier communities too. So if someone offered a gift card or a night at a hotel, I think that would be very helpful. GoFundMe's were amazing. Meals being delivered or given is super important, because the thing is, we as humans who go through this, our sense of comfort is instantly depleted. So any way we can feel that sense of comfort can go a long way, because when you lose everything except the clothes on your back, there's such an immense sense of vulnerability and fear. You literally feel naked and afraid. There's nothing. You can't even go and grab your toothbrush. And so for someone to offer a meal or a safe place to stay for that night, just to have a hot bath or something, is so beautiful and so helpful.
And so what I'm hearing is that it does feel better to say, even to call a hotel and say, I'm paying for somebody's night who's struggling. Or
people are scared to ask for help, and we feel guilty as a human race. And especially if people are in LA, if they lived in wealthy neighborhoods, they're probably like, people think we have money, scared to ask for help or put that out there.
And even like the comforts of clothes, like
the comforts of clothes. Yeah. And my thing was warmth too. I was cold for so many weeks, and that was hard. That was hard. I still don't have my own clothes. People donate me some stuff, and I just haven't had the mental capacity to go and buy clothes. Our shopping mall is a 4-hour drive away. So that's one thing, but I just haven't had the mental capacity to do that. So it takes months to feel the strength to be able to simply and go buy something.
So I guess that's my question too, because to the friends that I know in LA, I don't want to say, I have felt awkward saying, look, I literally just cleaned out my whole house. I have bags of stuff that I was going to bring to Goodwill. Do you want me to put it in a box and send it somewhere for you? Because it feels like they don't want my old clothes. They want their own new clothes.
I appreciated when people did that. I appreciated when people packed up their clothing that they didn't want anymore and gave it to me. It helped me. That was my experience. And all my friends who lost their homes, that was their experience too. When we'd share, we'd be like, oh, this doesn't fit me. Let's do this. I think, Lizzie, just tell them what you're doing. Just tell them, I'm sending you this gift card. I'm sending you an Uber Eats card. Uber Eats would be amazing. People can't think straight. And I highly doubt they'll be offended if you send them some clothes. So yeah, I would do that because every bit helps. Again, it's that mental capacity. We can only think 1 minute to 1 minute in this phase.
And then there are those who have little kids and are trying to get through it and also make their little ones feel safe and figure out like where they're going.
Oh yeah, my mom's friend's son lost their home in LA, and he has little children, and they were just beside themselves. And now these parents, they don't even have their own capacity, but they have to figure out their little kids.
That's right.
It's wanting their kids to feel safe. All their
Yeah.
toys are gone. Their place
Yeah.
where they slept is gone. Their playground is gone. Their school.
I know, and that's awful. That makes me sick. And I evacuated with small children, not my own, but my friends. We had to go get her kids out of bed at night. What someone did was, and there was 14 of us who evacuated in my friend's trailer 90 minutes from here with a bunch of animals too. But an organization I work for, they all pitched in money and sent me like $1,400 for the household. And that was super helpful because these kids were crying. They wanted their blankies, they wanted their toys. And so we used that money and replaced some things quickly for the kids to at least have them somewhat mentally contained while the parents had a minute to think, what the hell just happened?
Yeah. Yeah. And then there are the animals, right?
Oh my God.
Part of what, and this literally makes me cry to even get the words out, part of what makes me so sick and is intolerable for me to think about is the trauma that those animals experienced because they're so sensory. Jaime, do you hear and feel and get any sense of, I know that animals don't have the same clinging to life that we do. Like on an animal instinct, they will fight for their life, but they don't have the same, I don't want to go that we do. In my mind, I can't get out of my head the animals being afraid that they're about to be murdered, slaughtered. Is that accurate for them? Is that a thing?
I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. What I tapped into and what was extremely hard was just the chaotic feeling of what's going on from the animal collective when our home was burning. When I say home, the forest around us, right? That's what I was tapping into, is just like chaos and fear, but not fear of death necessarily, fear of what is happening.
Yeah.
What is happening. But you'd be surprised, a lot of animals that we thought were killed survived. We live in a national park, so certain animals are tagged so they can track them and learn. So we know that a wolf pack beautifully navigated around this massive wildfire, went behind a whole mountain range and came back to where the fire started. That's where they lived. We know that some bears and their cubs found an embankment by the river and just covered themselves in mud and held down low. They're so resilient and so smart. So I didn't get a sense of that fear, like, oh my God, we're going to die. But it was more like, what the hell is going on?
Why are all the humans freaking out?
Yeah, except for the domestic animals, though. My dog really felt it that night before the fire came. She was acting really weird. She wouldn't go for a walk. And I know a lot of my friends, their domestic animals were doing the same thing. So again, because they're domesticated, right? Now they're sensing there's something different. So that's what I was picking up on.
Okay, how is Breeze doing now? And Breeze is Jamie's dog.
So Breeze is adjusting. There's a lot of fear-based stuff happening, different noises, different smells. We're right in the middle of debris. So there's bulldozers going constantly 7 days a week. There's terrible smells of oils and metals and rubber. And so she has her moments. My cat, though, has been So amazing, so resilient. She knew what was happening and she told me she was fine. She even asked when we came back to Jasper, she asked to go see our home. She wanted to witness it. And that was part of her healing is I want to see my house burned down so I can be like, okay, what's our next step?
I imagine that's true for a lot of humans. I think that if we think about, because one of the things that I was told as I was channeling was that Source sees us the way we see our pets. So if I go in the bathroom and close the door while I'm peeing and my dog is scratching and freaking out, I'm like, relax, I'm right here. I haven't gone anywhere. And that's the way Source sees us when we're freaking out. And so I think if you can potentially give yourself some space to treat yourself as kind as you're treating your children and your pets as you go through this, that's the level of grace that we're talking about.
That's really good advice. And that can be applied to any type of grief or trauma that you're going through.
And Jaime, when my dog was sick, I worked with someone like you, and it was just helpful for me to hear because I felt so helpless and not being able to explain to her what was happening. And this seems like a perfect moment to work with someone like you to help your pets feel more understood and communicate with them.
Yeah, during these times, what I suggest to people is literally just have a conversation with them like you would a kid. Like, listen, Floofy the cat, we had to leave our home. There was a fire. And they know this, but they need to know it on a earth level too. They're so highly sensitive, but talking to them on an earth level will really help them. Just say, we have to stay in a hotel. We have to stay here right now. We're going to figure this out. But the important thing is we are together. And that's what they want to know during devastation, natural disasters is, can we stay together? So if you can, just reassure them. And if you can't, tell them you will be back for them. As we see in LA, a lot of livestock is taken to different places and they're probably like, what is going on, right? We need to tell them, I'm coming back for you. This is a safe place right now. That's what I would suggest doing, just sitting with your animal and having that simple conversation. It can make a world of difference for them and for you.
If anyone else out there is crying, I am too. The idea of them thinking that they're being left is like excruciating. And then it's like how we feel when we know that they're passing away.
Yes. And Lizzie, going back to what you said in this conversation, that's how the universe feels about us too.
Yeah, you're so right.
It's that level.
Yeah.
I'm still stuck, and maybe Lizzie, you can help with this, on the gravity of what I'm understanding in this conversation about how, yes, people are in it in LA right now and have to get through the fire. And yet there's so much ahead of them. I'm really feeling that, understanding now your experience and the journey that's ahead of them. I'm just feeling that heaviness of so many of them don't even realize, right? It's like some are going back to their homes today. Some are just seeing it like not even putting just insurance and just all the things that they're going to have to deal with in the scope of real life. Like, I'm a mother, I have children, I have a job, maybe my business is impacted. All of it. I don't even know if there are words. How do you cope with that? Is there anything in our woo-ness that's even relevant at this time when you're feeling so much in this 3D world of what we said earlier, why me?
I'm actually glad that you said that because I would have forgotten to say this. So it is really easy to clear your own energy. And no matter whether you're in the middle of the Palisades dealing with this, or in Jasper 6 months later, or in Chicago so far removed from it, and I get this, what is this thing going to actually do for me? And then you realize it actually does help. So if you imagine a sheet of light, of white light, bright white light over your head, and then see it move through your body like a French press coffee thing. And as it's moving through your body, it's pushing out anything that's not serving your highest good. So when I'm at my best, I remember to set the intention that it will move through my body, releasing everything that is not serving my highest good. And when I'm at my worst, I just move the light through me and trust that Source knows what I'm trying to do. And it does. And then when it gets past my feet, I send it down 6 inches to a foot. And then I take opposite corners and tie it, and opposite corners and tie it, and bundle it into, remember when the cartoon characters used to pretend like they were running away and hitchhiking and they had the little bundle tied around the stick? I put it in that kind of a bundle with a bow on it. And I scoop it up and I put it 45 degrees over my head. And I say, please take this and neutralize it. And it's not negative and I'm not pushing it away like, ew, gross. It's just not mine. It's like what Jaime was saying, this sweater doesn't fit, but it will fit somebody else. Let it go fit someone else. And I do that all day, as many times as I can remember. I have 3 alarms in my phone that remind me to do it. And it can take a half a second. And so you just see it shoosh right through you and push it off. And that will really help you. It's like shaking off. When we see animals flee, if there's a fight and they flee and they escape, they immediately shake. Every animal, right? Like imagine a duck shaking or the gazelle that's running away from the lion, it shakes and it's shaking that energy off. And we need to shake the energy off. Do this with your kids and program this into your kids that they can do this all day, every day. If somebody even has a negative or sad or hard story to witness, shake it off afterwards. It's not yours to hold. I think it's really important that we also remember me feeling bad after hearing Jaime's story doesn't help Jaime in any way. So I can feel compassion. And people have asked me this about my work. Like, how do I sit in this work and not just stay in bed all day? Because it doesn't help my client for me to take it on. And it doesn't help your friend for you to take on the sadness. It doesn't help LA for the rest of us to be sad and depressed. So as best we can, shake off what you can. And whether it's the laser light or sessions with people that help you, I think energy clearings are as important right now as eating clean food and drinking clean water. And it should be a part of just our normal hygiene.
Yeah, I agree. When I work with clients and when I'm finished with clients, I lose a lot of the information because it's not mine to carry.
Yeah.
And if I work with them again, I let them know, I'm like, just so you know, if I'm talking about the same things that's coming up spiritually, I don't remember what we spoke about 6 months ago. The other thing you can do too is when you have a shower, I find some people like doing that too. So when you're in the shower, energy clear yourself, envision it going down the drain, start from the crown chakra, work yourself down. And Liz, you probably realize if you don't do it, you probably feel heavy, right? Or like dirty.
Yeah. And when you notice like your kids are dragging or they're in a bad mood,
you can clear it for them.
Yeah.
And then even a little kid can start to understand what you're talking about, this beam of light, getting in the shower or a bath and talking to them about energy and then clearing themselves and clearing that from them.
Another aspect of this, I imagine a pinprick right at the center of my chest. So behind my sternum and in front of my spine, a little pinprick. And then I see it expand almost like a blowfish. And as it's expanding, it pushes out anything that's not serving my highest good. And then I hold it out around me about 2 or 3 feet, like a Glenda bubble, like Glenda the Good Witch. I hold it out there like that. And then I put honey around it so that I can be present and I can witness and I can be kind and compassionate, but nothing can penetrate it. Most of the men that I work with are like, oh, like a force field. So if that works for you, let that work. But it's really about staying kind and compassionate and open without feeling like you need to take it on, because that doesn't help.
And that is free. And everybody can do that right now for themselves and for others. And
yeah, I always suggest to my clients, make it part of your morning routine. You get up, you brush your teeth, you brush your hair, sit on the edge of your bed for 30 seconds and do this light exercise and put a balloon around you, whatever, however Lizzie does it. Find out what works for you, but make it a part of your morning routine.
And Jaime, because you were saying that it was so hard to even think in the midst of it, to me, when I have an alarm go off on my phone, and by the way, I set these alarms with no sound. So it just pops up. So the next time you look at your phone, you'll see clear energy or French press white light, whatever it is that's going to remind you to do it. And then you do it in a half a second. Some people like combining these things. Like when I'm brushing my teeth, I do this because I know I'm going to do that twice a day. Or whatever the ritual is, every time I go for a cup of coffee, I'm going to clear my energy. And if you pair it with things, it's known that then you can remember it more. But do whatever you have to do, leave notes around, and then move the notes, because after 3 days, you're not going to see the note anymore. It's going to become part of the background. So set yourself up where you don't have to remember to do this. Give yourself reminders of it.
And then going back to what Karen was also talking about, which is what is ahead for certain people who are going through this right now. Jaime, you were talking about those first 3 months, it's minute by minute. And now 3 months to 6, it's day by day. What can people expect to feel most likely and allow themselves to feel? Because that's the other part we're talking about here, which is you have to go through it, right? You were saying that too, Lizzie. This may be triggering something that was part of some other life, but it's coming up now in this life for a reason, and it's still horrific. But what can you do because you're in it? So what can you expect to feel, and how can you get through it?
There's going to be a lot of despair, and
Yeah.
it's going to be there for a long time. So, like 3D style, again, just if you are evacuated and lost your home, you've got to find a safe, comfortable place. That is the number one thing, because then if you're in a safe, comfortable place where you know your kids can have a bed or have a shower or whatever, then it'll be easier to do these simple little energy things, right? When we're living in a vehicle with no food and no warmth, it makes life harder. It's a long, hard road. But what I would do again is find that sense of community. You need that sense of community. That is so important. Whether it's people who are going through the same thing, or if you found a safe neighborhood to stay in with friends and family, find that sense of community because you need that. It's okay to be taken care of. Let people take care of you. You don't have to be strong. You don't have to be tough. You've just been through something life altering and earth shattering. Let people nurture you and comfort you. Don't
I'm
be
just
ashamed
thinking
of
of
it.
how much harder that is for the introverts
Yeah.
to need community when really at their core, they need alone time and space, and they don't have that.
Yeah, so my partner's like that. So when we first evacuated, we went to my friend's trailer. There was 14 of us. We evacuated in his work van. He's an electrician, so he has one of those work vans, so the whole back side is just flat. So he actually made that into a bed for himself. And
Oh, good.
he stayed in the van so he could have his alone time. And I stayed in the trailer because I needed that sense of community,
So what
right?
I'm hearing you really say is get very clear on what your, it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Get really clear on what your most immediate need is and
Yeah.
be absolutely committed to serving that need.
Yeah, you have to take care of yourself. And whatever that sense of comfort looks like, try and allow it to happen. And it's weird. So, my partner, he's a musician as well, and he lost all his equipment in the fire. And in the first week, he spent his savings to go buy a new guitar. And I was like, seriously, you're buying a guitar when our house just burned down? And he was like, this is what I need to find that comfort. I'm like, okay, you do that. I get it. I'm sorry I questioned it. Find what you need to give yourself some sort of comfort.
I also feel so compelled to say that, especially for our audience, for people who are listening, it's okay if you get to the place where you're like, I don't know what to believe anymore. If you get to that place where you're like, you know what? All this universe and manifestation stuff, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's really okay because I think we're bodies on a planet, right? We are here to navigate that. And there are going to be those moments where you don't feel spiritual about these experiences. You can't see the good. You can't see the lesson. You can't see the opportunity for growth. That's okay. I just
You
want to say that so people know that.
Yeah.
And
You're
not to
right.
despair because they're feeling like, oh, all these beliefs
Yeah.
that I've had and I've tried to live by. What does that mean?
Yeah, you feel
always,
very victimized.
this is always
Yeah.
my big issue with Abraham Hicks, with law of attraction. Like, I didn't attract a
Yeah,
fire
right.
community sweeping out
Exactly.
this town, right? Like,
Exactly. Right.
I think that's a great point, Karen. I think what I would highly recommend to people is just being mindful about what facts you're assigning to this situation and are they a fact? Like the world is not safe. That's not 100% a fact. The world can be unsafe. And I think it's really important to be super mindful about the words that you're using and the thoughts that you're repeating in your head, because that's going to create your vibration and it's going to create your feelings. And if you need to climb out of that state of complete and utter despair and fear, the only way to get there are baby steps out. Don't expect to feel content the next day. Just expect to be able to take one more step.
And
Yeah.
roller, Jamie, and it's part of that grief journey, right? You're going to go through the trauma and the denial and the anger and the numbness and all the things, and you might take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. And I just feel so compelled for people who want to be on a spiritual journey and really do believe in all of these things, that they don't lose hope because of the situation that
I know. And there are going to be a lot of mental breakdowns too, which is going to be really hard. The amount of being neutral 1 minute and then just sobbing uncontrollably on the ground was a daily thing for me for months. Even walking my dog, I would all of a sudden start hyperventilating and crying in the middle of the street. There's no control over it. There's so much to process.
I think that's what you're explaining, right? Like any of us that have lost someone we love like that, you can be at the grocery store and suddenly start crying hysterically for no reason, no like logical reason.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's a big grief. It's grief.
And I think what we're all saying is allow yourself to
Exactly.
feel it. You need to feel it really to get through it, to really process it.
Yeah. And one of the hardest things is, and we might have touched base on this earlier, is the sense of your safety net is now completely gone. You're going through this grief process in this horrible situation, but you have no safe space, which adds another little cherry on that top. It's just like, I remember at one point, I just wanted to go lie in a bed and cry, and I didn't have that option. And for the mass amount of people in this situation right now, there's just so much vulnerability and feeling, again, targeted. And I remember saying, why? What did I do? Why did my house burn down? And I had to shake that off of me too. And it was Mother Nature. She doesn't pick and choose. She just rages through, right? There's so much to share and so many emotions behind it, but safety and comfort, whatever that looks. So then you can wrap your mind about what is happening. Try and find your spiritual outlets, your comfort outlets. Get food in your belly. It's going to be chaotic for a long time.
Question I have for you is, what has it taught you about you? What has it taught you about yourself as you're going through this? What have you learned about you that you didn't know?
I don't think I have that answer yet. My family says I'm very brave, and they've always seen that in me, which I've never seen, but I don't think I have that answer yet because I'm still so fragile and sad. And I know in like maybe 5 years, I can be like, I'm glad my house burned down.
Right, no,
because
you are not
No,
that.
no, it's
No.
actually really important. It comes to me with trauma. And when I experienced my trauma, the first thing I would say to anyone that I was working with was, don't ask me to think the thing.
That's
And
right.
so I will say to anybody going through this or anybody
Right.
watching, no one is looking for you to say, I really learned a lot. And so I'm grateful that happened. Fuck that. None of that noise. But you will learn and you will grow, because we will all learn and grow. But no thanking the victimizer.
And see, I feel a bit disappointed in where I am because I don't feel strong anymore like I used to be. And that really bothers me.
You're still so raw.
And what's so interesting, Jaime, is that I would say that the three of us looking at you are like, God damn it, she's strong. Look at how resilient you are. You've got out of there, and look, you're actually in a safe place right now. But it doesn't matter what we say, it's how you feel.
Yeah, I want to get back to where I was.
And that's another question. Is it getting back to where you were, or is it something else? Do you know what I mean?
The next chapter. You're never going to go back to where you were.
That's what I
It's
would
never going to be
say.
the same. You're never going to have not experienced that. So it's forever changing. And I know that for a lot of people going through trauma, there's the anger at being changed. There's the anger, now I'm never going to be that same thing. And I'm now grieving that girl too.
Yeah.
There's so many layers to it. And I honestly, to anyone listening, whether we're watching from afar or you're in it, I think the most important thing is finding any baby step that you can of where you feel safe in this moment. Because again, on the overarching theme of it is, if it could happen to Jasper and LA and Sandy and North Carolina, when is it my city's turn?
It is petrifying.
But I do think that it gives us the opportunity to think, where is my go bag? What do I need?
What is the plan? And then what is home, Jaime? How are you defining that for yourself now?
Home for me was easy to figure out. Home is my community, this land. I'm so connected to this land. I felt terrible not being here, but a home is also having your four walls. And people say things can be replaced. Sure, but all the letters my mother has written me over the years can't be replaced. All my energy, our solid walls we fill with our core essence, our energy. And when we lose, that is our home too. I feel it's an interesting concept to think about. Yeah, I'm home in Jasper, even though I don't have a house, but our home is our safety. Our home is where our love is. Our home is where we can grab a blanket and cry if we had a bad day. And now so many people don't have that.
I think what we don't realize is that our home and our pets are the two things where we can be our most authentic self. And they're really the only two, right? Like when we're home is when we are ourselves.
Yeah,
And
you
our
let your
ugly.
guard down. And yeah, when people say, oh, it's just things that can be replaced, not everything can be replaced.
And
the
that's not what you're
memories.
talking about. You're not saying I'm sad my home burned down because I don't have my pots and pans. I don't have a safe space that's mine to let my guard down and to be authentically myself. And that's taxing.
Also, the element of the identity of who I am, which is my home, which are the things that I had, whether they're memories or things I've accumulated or not. And so, what you lose in a home, especially in that quickness, is part of who you are.
There's the essence of who you are and what that it actually is its own personality. It's an extension of who you are. And so you're right. That's what I would say is probably part of this loss.
Yeah, and the memories that you created there and the traditions. I host Christmas every year for so many people, and that wasn't the case this year. And
Energy too. It's like it is that energy. It is literally grieving that too, in addition to the safety and everything else.
yeah, so what is home? I think it's individual. I think it's up to everyone to find what that really is.
And I think you can't overlook too for so many, they aren't able to recreate that, right? Whether it's financially or physically. And it's the opportunity to adapt and change, but it's still a loss nonetheless, just like it is a family member.
Yeah, and I'm actually really scared for a lot of people in Los Angeles. I have a great insurance policy, but I'm scared for the people in Los Angeles because hearing about how the insurance companies took away those fire policies, now
Yeah.
what?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's
So
where I go
it
back
just
to my question of not asking, how can I help you? Like I have a friend who lost everything, and she's most worried about the people that also worked for her nanny, her gardener, the other people in the community. And so I
But
think again, it's the I'm sending gift cards, use them, gift them as needed.
yeah, people need
Not for
food and
you, give them
clothes.
to your nanny, give them to
Yeah,
whoever.
people need food, clothes, and a roof over their head right
That's
now.
right.
And then hopefully everyone can band together and figure out the next steps. So yeah, I would just send that stuff.
And it makes me think too of even if you didn't lose your home, but you worked for a business that all of a sudden is
That's what I'm
completely
saying.
gone, the impact on all of those people who have no job now. It is all of those things. And so to Lizzie's point, just give.
There was
Mhm.
one other thing that I don't want to forget to say before we wrap up. One of the things that I think is really important for as many of us to do, again, whether you're here or there, when we get in that panic mode and when we get into that like overwhelm of this is just so sad and so hard, the thing that I use most is shifting back to appreciation without feeling like an asshole about it, but shifting back to where am I safe right now? Where am I okay right now? Can I still see? Can I still smell? Can I still taste? Where are my clothes? Just labeling, whether it's out loud, I'll set an alarm on my phone for 60 seconds and go through an appreciation list to just ground myself and calm my nervous system down. And also, I know this sounds so ridiculous, but if you take the deepest breath you possibly can, it will turn on your parasympathetic nervous system, which will calm you down. And so when you get into that, again, flustered, I can't breathe. What am I going to do? This isn't working. How's this going to go for me? If you take the biggest breath into your belly, into your chest, all the way up into your collarbones, and then sip another little breath in, and then really slowly, like you're blowing out through a straw, blow out like you're squeezing out a tube of toothpaste, that will calm you down. And remembering the breath is a direct reflection of your mind. So if you're trying to calm your mind down, calm your breath down and use your body to actually calm your brain, which will calm your nervous system. Because obviously, what's happening is your nervous system is in hyper overdrive. And so use those little tips and hints, even if we're far watching the videos and crying and like all the things that we're all experiencing. to keep regulating yourself. And the first thing you have to do is notice it, right? So you first have to notice that you are dysregulated, acknowledging what happens to you when you're dysregulated. And with kids, labeling to them, you seem dysregulated. How does your body feel? How does your tummy feel? How do your shoulders feel? Like labeling what's happening in their body and then giving them these tools, because the first thing we have to do is recognize it and then do something to shift it.
I also want to say one other thing too before we finish up that occurred to me is now this is going back to the woo, looking at what we've learned about the astrology of this year and the numerology of this year. And there's so much about the collective and us coming together as community, coming together as humans. And it's hard to say all of these experiences are very compartmentalized in some ways, and yet it's shining a light on the fact that this can happen to all of us and that we are one collective human family. And it's shining a light for me on that, just to the point we made earlier. We had those experiences in the Carolinas earlier this year. We've had these fires. We've had what you went through. And they're all little news blips, unless we know someone. And then, of course, we're tied to it even more. But I feel like this LA experience is really shining a very bright light for all of us, that to the point we made earlier, this can happen in a moment. And yet we are all this collective human family. And how do we lean into that aspect? How do we tune up our empathy? How do we lean into really acknowledging that and bringing that part of our humanness to it instead of just acknowledging it for a moment and then turning a blind eye and then moving on? There's messages in this for us going into this year.
Yeah, and I wish there was a definite answer for that, but I think the more people who become aware of the spiritual energies around, we can change the planet, but I don't think there's enough of us yet to do that. And I do think we as mankind need to start doing better.
Yeah, I agree. And I think these conversations are going to help. And the more people that can listen and share them so that we can become more aware, that will help with that vibration and with that collective energy. And as Karen said, what we know from our most recent previous conversations leading into 2025, before these most recent fires started, without people knowing what others were saying, they were saying the same thing about this year and the energy that it would bring from a collective perspective. So I would definitely recommend listening to these past few episodes, because we were in awe while we were listening in 2024, taping them. And then what has been transpiring so quickly and how we can help one another to better understand, but then also hold each other's hands as we walk through this together. And I think we're going to be talking about this and how to help others and heal together. Lizzi is incredible at helping people heal through trauma. And I feel like we're going to want to continue to talk to you, Lizzi, and you, Jaime, about how we do help as people move through this process, because it's too raw at the moment to even understand what has impacted them in that sense of the trauma.
It's
Well,
too
and
tough for the people in the center of it. But I think those of us, the more
right.
we can clear the trauma as we watch it, we can serve.
Yeah.
That's right.
yeah, and it's good to continue the conversation because it will become old news very quickly.
We are going to continue talking and helping others. And Jaime and Lizzi, thank you for coming on today and sharing your experiences, your own wisdom and guidance. We will be continuing this conversation. And to everybody listening, whether you're in it right now, like in the middle of it, or you're someone who is looking to see how you can help and better understand, we are here for you. Thank you. And you can find out more about Jaime by visiting jaimebreeze.com, JAIMEBREEZE.com. And then you can also visit LizziCutler.com. That's LIZZICUTLER.com. Thank you both.
Thank you for having me on, ladies.
Thank you for having me, Jaime. Sending you love.
Thank you so much.
Love you both.